Well, hello, welcome to Drawing with Fire. I am Valarie, your neighborhood pyrography artist, and today I am unboxing and doing at least a mini review of the new Walnut Hollow Creative Woodburner. This is a wire tip burner, and I purchased this burner. Walnut Hollow did not send it to me. I did request it, and they weren't interested, so that's okay. Alrighty, the box is open. Let's take the plastic off. It comes encased. And in the back you have some graphite paper and your instructions. So we'll take this lid off. Now I'm not throwing anything away because I will be returning this burner. I don't need another one, but I know people are really curious about this, so I wanted to show everybody. So we have the tool to remove the tips. We have tips that the first thing I noticed look very similar to the coalwood tips, so I'm going to be checking those and just glancing over. I don't know if they don't fit. Yeah, so we've got a ball tip, which looks like it's a small. We have a writing nib. We have two shaders. Whoop! Well, that just went flying. But can you also do straight edge. And last we have another shader, round shader. Alrighty, I am plugged in. Now this does come with a stand. I forgot about it, but looked through the book quickly. This is the stand for the pen. You can use it on the left or right side. So let's see if I can get it out. There we go. So to put the stand in, I am, for this, I'm going to put it on the left side as I am right-handed. Let's see. Not feeling right. So it sits, I guess, just like that. You don't have to lock it. It just pushes in. Alrighty, good to know. So we've got our pen. The electric cord to plug in for electricity is about a 4-foot cord. We have our pen that is connected at both the base of our pen and to the machine. So this is one of the biggest things I'm going to have an issue with this machine is you're stuck with your 4 tips unless they bring out more. If your pen dies, you have to send the whole machine in, which to me makes no sense. This is not a thin cord. It does have weight to it, that the pen itself is pretty light. It is bigger. I'm just kind of holding my other pens. It feels, well, let me think about how it feels as we go along. The wire is not very bendy, and it is also about 3 feet long, so you're not going to have a whole lot of length to play with. So let's just turn it on. I don't have a tip in because I just want to see the light come on, so we'll do that. We do have a light. It does not change depending on temperature. It's just a static red light. Okay, and I think we will just pop in the writing nib. Now there's going to be a ridge inside the pen right there that should match up with the ridge on here, very similar to the coalwood. And pop it in and it snaps. Alrighty, so balance. I really don't like thick cords anymore. For the longest time I was really used to them, but now I've gotten spoiled. So that is really a personal choice. I grabbed some wood. I just grabbed some birch, which is what I normally use. And see, the cords are really going to bother me, especially since I can't straighten this cord. It's just going to take time. It's kind of similar to the other Walnut Hollow. Alrighty, so I can turn the pin if it's not sitting the way I want to tip wise. So this is the writer nib. So we're going to go to 1. Okay, you are going to get a smell because it's the first time it's being used. So that is nothing to worry about. We heard it snap. I'm on 1. It is not burning anything. Here, I'll show you. There we go. Extremely light. Bump it up to half, which is going to be a little harder to get to number wise because the tick marks are really close together on the dial. So it's going to be a little harder, but doable. I got the same tone, so let's see if I bump up to 2, because maybe there's not a whole lot of variance within the basically whole numbers, meaning 1.5 and 1.75 really isn't going to affect what we're doing. So this is on 2. Remember, every tip is going to burn differently, so this is the writer nib. Okay, well, 1.5, 2, all the same tone. I'll just bump it up to 3. This pen is definitely larger in my hand, so if you have wrist issues, hand issues, I would suggest taking that into consideration. Alright, so let's see what 3 does. So that's 1, 1.5, 2, and then up to 3. That's a big shift in value. Now I am looking at this wood burner as if it was a professional wood burner. It does say it's for all experience levels, though they do kind of focus on the new Pyrographer. They do say all experience levels, so I am taking all that into consideration. So now we're at 4. Alright. So 1, 1.5, 2, 3, 4. Bump it up to 5. And as the heat goes, as I turn the heat up higher, it should take less time to heat up. That's how tips work. So it doesn't seem like you really start getting a lighter dark burn until 3. That's when the value starts changing. That's a 5. This 6 is about what I get at a 4 on my Optima. 7. Now I know in their YouTube video it says that if you put it on a 7 you're going to get a 7 burn, except your tips are going to affect that. So you do need to take that into consideration. If it's a thicker tip, it's going to burn lighter. If it's a thinner tip, it's going to burn hotter. So we're just going to go through these settings one at a time, and then I am going to check the other pins because I do recommend that anytime you get a new pin, do a chart just so you can see what each level is when it is on. So let's see here. We have the tip discoloring, which is fine. That is normal. It's not glowing at 8. So saw the smoke. That is 8. Let me see if I can get. Let's go to 9. 9. And this is normally about a 6 on, or higher. Actually, it's about a 6 on an Optima. Like I said, the different wood burners are a little different. And this is when they're going to start looking the same burn-wise, because the wood's only going to take so much heat. After a while, it just looks the same. So we have no red tip, which that is very interesting. Never seen a tip on tin that was not glowing red. So we have a range between, I would say 2, because anything below 2, really don't have anything. So between 2, and then it looks like, I'm going to turn this down before I bump myself with it. So 1, 1.5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we basically have a heat range between 2 and 7. Because after 7, for this tip, they look the same. And before 2, they look the same. So I'm going to write with this. Move this over. So I wrote that at 5. I would have expected for it to be darker. Alright, writer tip. Let's turn this off. And now we're going to start speeding through the rest of them. Alright, let's talk tips. Now, I've tested them out to see how the values are, and overall, they're actually not bad. I'm pleasantly surprised. One thing I don't like is, at least for these 2 tips, which is half of what you're getting, they are extremely thin, too flexible. This one is definitely going to grab any grain, and they feel extremely cheap. They are not polished at all. No one has taken the time to polish them. You can see the discoloration from where I used the tip, which is normal, but I would think based on how light in the scheme of things, or how little I burned with them, they shouldn't look like this. Now the ball tip, it did pretty well. It's on there centered. The tips seem to pop in fine. I don't see an issue, and it snaps in well. You can pull it out by hand or using the tool. I don't feel that if you have strength issues, that this will be a problem. I mean, they do come out well. I gotta keep looking for it. See, at least with the Colwood, they mark the indent, so it's easy to find. So I would recommend that if you choose to buy this pen, to mark it, so it's just easier to switch in and out. You'll see a groove right here. That's not only for grabbing with the pliers, but it also allows the pen to rest on the little holder, and this feels fine. You do have to make sure that you pull up. Do not pull back. It will just end up breaking something, or I could see it possibly pulling out your tip. So lift up, not back. And so this feels fine. The burner itself is actually pretty heavy, surprisingly enough. I talked to Jason and had him hold the pen. He said that this felt like toy plastic. The grip is also plastic. It's one of the softer plastics, but this is also plastic. It feels awkward to hold, and it does feel cheap. I hate saying that, but it does. On the back, we don't have the information as to the voltage output, so I do not know what that is. Based on the burning, maybe 1 volt, 1.5. The Raider is just a regular bent nichrome wire, so that's really nothing different. So let's see if the Colwood tips, which I think would be even more important, if the Colwood tips will fit inside the Walnut Hollow. That way, that would give you more options. I don't know if I'm going to suggest this. No, it does not fit. You'll see these 2 holes. There we go, right there. They don't even fit. You would have to bend these, and I won't do that. So no, these do not work together. So that means that the Walnut Hollow Creative Woodburner is not adaptable to any of the other burners on the market. If this is what you get, this is what you have available for use. Calling this one, I wrote it down as a line shader. They're calling this one a universal shading point. I do not like this tip at all. They are calling this one the rounded shading point. Again, don't like it. I am going to do a quick demo to burn on here on this wood, just so we can see if it works for kind of some of the subjects that you like to burn. I'm actually kind of guessing. There's one thing I want to show. As I was setting up for a different camera angle to do a quick burning, just to see overall how this works, I put the Walnut Hollow down. As you know, earlier in the video I had the metal bar holder on the left side, which is where I still had it. I connected and made sure that this was down in there, this pin specifically, and all of a sudden it fell off, and this is how the tip now looks after hitting a carpeted floor that is not that far down. I am extremely disappointed. These are extremely cheap. I would look at bending it back, but I'm not interested in snapping it. I did not want to damage these pins. And now any of these tips, but now this one is damaged, which is probably the pin I would use the most. I connected this. I thought it was pretty sturdy, but it's not as sturdy as I thought. It fell. This is what I now have. So let's get on to burning. So they do have tips and tricks inside here. There are no patterns. It's tips and tricks. You could potentially be paying $99 if you don't have a coupon. You really want this. You're paying $99 for this burner. We have two extremely weak tips that come with the burner, and I do not see, as of currently filming this, that you can buy these separately, just the tips, in case something happens. If they break, which is a really good chance, or you just for whatever reason need to replace them, they have right here, using a very fine grit sandpaper, softly swipe the point across to remove the debris. Please, 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 absolutely do not use sandpaper, especially on these tips. They won't last. And again, you only have 4 available, so every pin, every tip is going to count. If you use sandpaper on these, you are going to wear these down so quickly that even burning on one is going to be black. That's what happens when you burn, or when you use sandpaper to clean your tips. As you thin down the metal, lower heat settings burn hotter because you're making the metal even thinner. And to be honest, these tips do not have much further to go. So please, 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 whoever wrote the instructions or the tips and tricks, honestly, and I'm going to do this again, hate saying this, but whoever wrote those are inexperienced with wire tip burners and have just passed along what they have been told, and unfortunately that's not the best information. Now it does come with graphite paper, and this is really odd to me. I'm looking to see if they have a list in here. No. This is the graphite paper. They state is graphite paper that they send with, that's in the box, except for I've never seen Walnut Hollow paper that's blue tinted. It is always gray for graphite. In fact, their graphite paper is one of the few wax-free papers, transfer papers, that I recommend. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a corner of this. You definitely, nope, this is carbon. This is carbon paper. This is the Walnut Hollow transfer graphite paper. And as I pointed out, it's got blue. This is their regular wax-free graphite paper. It's gray, big difference. It's also lighter. Mind you, I have used this a bunch, but you can see how much lighter it is. And that is because that is carbon paper, this is graphite paper. I would not use that paper. You will not get your lines off of your wood. Now this is the other part of my little piece here that I cut off. So this part has never been used. So I'll go ahead and show you again. That is graphite paper. That is carbon paper. I would throw this away because you will never get it off the board. You'll sand grooves into it and it will still be there. It is not worth even going through that hassle. And to prove that, I am going to grab, this is graphite paper, so I'll just put, you know what, I just put a G for graphite. Make sure we see it. Now this is going to have a harder time erasing because I did do it darker. And this, I'm just going to use a small corner of it, is the carbon, because it helps if I actually hold it down. So I went over it twice, just like I did. You can even see the difference, and I'm going to go lighter. I'm just going to put a line. Just a little line. There we go. Let me zoom in for you. Just in the line color, you can tell this is carbon paper. Why they did that, I don't know. They do recommend using the Tombow sanded eraser in the instructions, but let's face it, you would have to use this less if you didn't use this. So I'm really disappointed. They have their own graphite paper that is wax free for wood burning. Why would you include that? This is my regular Vanish 4-in-1 eraser that you normally see in the lives. I have my sanded eraser if I need it. Again, I know because I pushed harder that there is going to be some of the graphite left, but as I erase more and more over burning and whatnot, it'll disappear. Carbon is a different story. And I pushed pretty hard so you guys could see. Alright, so we still have graphite, and we knew it was going to happen. I did as many back and forth with the carbon. I'll even rub on it longer. Ugh, that hurts my hand. Shoot. Alright, this was a one swipe very lightly with the pencil. So the sanded eraser. Again, you don't want to push hard with this because you will mess up your wood. And I want to go with the grain when it's the sanded eraser. So, a few strokes. The graphite is a lot less. And in order to, I'm just going to do half of the carbon, just so we can see the difference. In fact, you saw, if you watched my Still Life wood burning series, you saw that I actually fought with this exact thing with the Still Life. Again, I can't go hard and I can't keep going over the same spot because I'm going to create an indent in the wood. Even the sanded paper or sanded eraser does not erase it. Rough side is purple, smoother side is pink. So I'm going to start with the rougher side. Nope, does not erase. Okay, the last test we were going to do quickly on the carbon versus graphite was sandpaper. I was just going to rip it off so I can have a small piece. It's a small area, I don't need a large piece. So I think I'm going to go ahead and try to see if I can get all of it gone. Alright, so with the carbon, we are still left with the carbon. Again, as I keep working graphite over it, erasing and burning, that disappears. So that's why I don't worry about it. They are not polished, they are not shiny, they are very rough. And what I can do is quickly show you what is a proper way to clean your tips. That's with a strop and aluminum oxide. And let's see how well these clean. This also, in the process of cleaning, will start polishing the tip, which should help it work a little better. So let's see. You will see metal come off, but the carbon here, tip is not cleaning. That's interesting. I don't know if the tip is so rough and so it's uneven, which would hinder it cleaning. Yep, it's not cleaning off. Alright. Let me check this one real quick. That may have actually, I'll have to go back and look at the video and see if maybe that black was already there before I started burning. And so that's this tip. This one is the most fragile of all of them. I'm really not using a whole lot of pressure. I'm trying to be really careful on how I move this tip because I don't want to snap it. And it's not cleaning very well. Any abrasive way, the strainer, sandpaper, can definitely ruin these tips very easily. You could put the tip in the pen to do this. I'm going to try going over where there's a little bit more aluminum oxide and see if that helps. What you're seeing coming off is metal, and it looks like it does not want to clean off at all. So if these tips are reacting like this to aluminum oxide and a strop, can't imagine what they're going to be like, even with the higher grade sandpaper. It is not a smooth tip. I think this is going to be the biggest downfall of the tips. Yeah, I can't get it clean, so we'll move on.